Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to take some time to talk about an important part of Pathfinder 2e's combat that might honestly be my favorite part of 2e's combat: tactics. See, a phrase that I've seen people burr around a lot online is that in Pathfinder 2e, you don't win fights in character creation, you win them in the fights. And while that can sometimes be an exaggeration of how much character creation matters in other systems, it really is true that your decisions in the middle of a fight in 2e are super impactful. While this video can't make you into a tactics master or anything, since, you need to play the game and get system master yourself, I hope that it'll help some people get a better idea of how to use tactics in combat and what on earth people are talking about whenever they say tactics in combat. So let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing that I want to talk about is versatility. See, every creature in 2e actually has 4 different defensive statistics, not just AC. After all, different effects can target armor class, reflex, fortitude, and will saves. Some enemies are going to have great armor classes but terrible reflex saves. So if you can target their reflex saves, then you're going to have a better chance of success. Like, instead of casting Produce Flame at an enemy, try casting Fireball. Spellcasters are definitely the best at doing this, because spells can target any different type of defense, but literally every character can target a fair few different defensive statistics using skills. Like, really, using skills in combat is actually incredibly good. Another great part about being versatile is that you have ways to get around enemy resistances and immunities, and you're gonna be able to take advantage of enemy weaknesses. Resistances and immunities can dramatically reduce the effectiveness of a particular strategy. Since if literally every successful strike against a creature, they take 5 less damage, that is a crazy amount of damage mitigation. Being able to avoid that resistance can really improve your life, but some resistances just can't be completely avoided. If you're looking up to speed up combat dramatically though, exploiting weaknesses is absurdly effective. If an enemy takes an additional 10 fire damage whenever they get burned, all of a sudden, no matter how weak a fire spell is, it's going to be dramatically stronger. Again, spellcasters are going to have the easiest time of doing this, as they have the easiest access outside of maybe thaumaturges and alchemists to basically every damage type in the game, but everyone can at least try to do it by picking up a different weapon type so you're not just stuck with slashing damage. Now let's move on to the real meat of tactical combat in 2e, which is action management. Well, that term that I just literally came up with makes it sound a little bit complicated. The reality of this concept can be dumbed down very easily. The more actions your team gets, the better, and the fewer actions your enemies get, the better. Every creature in 2e has 3 actions and a single reaction every turn, and the only true way to impact that is to apply the quicken, slowed, and stunned conditions. At first glance, there doesn't really seem to be a lot of ways to do that, as those conditions are rather rare, which is fair considering that they're probably some of the strongest actions in the game. But there are many ways to affect both your allies and your enemies' actions. Well, while the haste spell is an amazing buff that can actually give your allies more actions, there are other ways to give your allies quote-unquote more actions if you get a bit creative with how you define what I just said. As an example, if you are one of 2 frontline martial characters, if you spend an action on your turn moving into a flank or setting up a position for your ally to move into a flank, then that means that your ally doesn't have to spend their turn doing it. And you can just choose an action on your turn where it's you could make a 3rd attack against an enemy, but that's going to be really likely to miss, so you can instead just move around into a flank. This means that your ally doesn't have to do it, and they might be able to do something better or more effective with their own actions. So you're encouraging your ally to do a cool thing with one of your actions that probably wasn't going to do a very cool thing. There are a lot of ways that you can do this outside of just flanking. Like, you can heal someone so they don't have to try and defend themselves as much, or maybe just shove an enemy so that they're further away from the squishy backline characters so they don't have to run away on their turn. Just get creative with it. While there aren't an innumerable amount of ways to literally give your allies more actions, you can mess with enemies in an insane amount of ways in this game. While the slow spell is probably one of the best spells in the entire game, literally every PC has the ability to mess with enemy actions. For example, imagine that there's a big old guy with a big old sword next to you. Rather than spending all 3 actions attacking him or something, just swing twice and then walk away from him. Most enemies in 2e don't have an attack of opportunity available to them as a reaction, so you're not gonna get punished for it. Now, on that big old guy's turn, he has to spend actions to actually get close to you to hit you again, rather than just being able to spend their entire turn wailing on you. The core concept when it comes to restricting enemy actions that took me a while to really get is that if you spend one of your actions to force an enemy to do something on their turn, then that's almost always a bargain for you. After all, spending an action to trip an enemy who's higher level than you means that they won't be spending one of their actions to hit you with a hyper-accurate attack. Generally, just higher level enemies get more out of their actions than you get out of yours. So if you spend one of your actions to take away one of theirs, that's great. If you trip and grapple a spellcaster, then if they want to escape the grapple and stand up, then they aren't going to be able to cast a 2-action spell that turn, which is huge. Basically, every NPC in 2e has their own unique thing that they can do and are probably going to be trying to do. And most of these things take actions to perform. If you just don't give them the chance to do those unique abilities or just stuff like basic spellcasting, then combat is going to be dramatically more survivable. You're never going to be able to do this all of the time, not in the slightest, but just trying to do it when you can, or at least keeping it in the back of your mind as a possibility, can make an insane difference over the course of an entire campaign. Basically, tactics in 2e can be summed up as having a lot of options is good, since you can always choose the most effective way to go about things. Helping your friends makes you a good friend and a good teammate, and just try and limit what enemies can do, because good lord can enemies be dangerous. Tactics can be just as difficult and complicated as you want them to be, and that's honestly my favorite part. The more you look into them, the more interactions you can find, but you can also just not care a huge amount about it and just move into flanks with your allies. There is never an objectively best solution, so don't stress out too much trying to force one into existence. How much you want to do with tactics is in your hands, and I like that a lot more than just making most of your important decisions in session 1 when you make your character. Thanks for watching. I hope that this helped some people understand what people online actually mean when they say that Combat 2e is tactical, since that is a pretty vague statement. Basically, 2 encourages you to be smart, not just strong. What examples of good tactics can you think of, and what did happen in combat to make it click for you? Let me know that and any questions you may have in a comment down below, and subscribe or something while you're down there, I guess. Regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.